SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Toyota of Brookhaven has been voted best new car dealership in Southwest Mississippi 4 years in a row. Come see the difference. Exit 40 Brookhaven or online at toyotabrookhaven.com. Great service, great savings. At Toyota of Brookhaven, we deliver.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now,
good Thursday morning, July 3rd, 2025. We are on the eve of Independence Day, our 249th Independence Day. A year from right now, we will be on the eve of the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. We are glad to be with you on what is likely to be a historic day. Historic probably even while we are on the air this morning. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We welcome you to the program. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, and we welcome your messages on the C Spire text line. 601-879-4395 is the number if you would like to jump in the conversation bright and early on this Wednesday morning. 601-879-4395. Every sports fan can tell you fast speeds win games. It's why C Spire brings you fiber home internet, nationwide 5G wireless, and IT solutions that move as fast as your business. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. I will give you a peek into how I kind of went through the evening. It was well. First of all, good morning, Lance Tolbert.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, how did it go last night? Were you counting votes?
I won't say counting votes, but I will very much admit, and I wonder if you and others were this way also. Last night was a little bit of a strange night because we were subjected to the full pomp and circumstance of the United States Congress, and a lot of procedural stuff, test votes, wrangling, debating on the floor. If you watched the show House of Cards years ago with Frank Underwood was the representative from South Carolina, or maybe he was the senator from South Carolina, and he became the whip. And whipping the vote was one of the things that they talked a lot about, and it's trying to get done whatever you've got to get done, whatever deals have got to be made to get specific legislation passed. I think we had that on full display last night, late into the night, early into the morning, and for a lot of congressmen throughout the course of the night. I tell you who I think deserves the Iron Man Award. You follow Chad Pergram from Fox News?
Here and there.
I feel like that guy never, ever sleeps. Like, anytime something is going on in Washington, he's kind of their go-to reporter. He's a little stiff, but his information is so good and his delivery is so good. And it's like, wow, he was doing a live report at 1 a.m. Wow, he's back on television doing a live report at 6 a.m.
I'm convinced that they're clones. I mean, honestly, I don't see how these guys do it. You'll watch and see dude on at 1 a.m. and then he's still on at 5 in the afternoon and looks just like he did or her, early in the day. And you're like, how in the world could they pull this off? They must have a stand-in or something. I don't know, but it is amazing.
There's got to be a closet and a shower there. It's like, okay, new suit, new shirt, new tie, got a shower, freshened up. IV drip of coffee straight into the veins. Here we are. As we sit here right now, I went to. I just turned it off at 11:30. Some of the reporting was like, "Hey, it's going to be hours before anything." That they were. So there was a test vote that was going on. It was a procedural vote last night, in which they needed a majority of congressmen to support moving to floor debate for final passage of the big beautiful bill. That's what was going on last night. And when I went to bed at 11:30, there were 5 Republicans that had voted with Democrats to not move the bill forward. Those 5 Republicans were Thomas Massey of Kentucky. And here's the thing on this voting scenario, you can change your vote. So Thomas Massey had originally voted yes to advance the bill to final debate and a vote for passage. There were 4 Republicans who had sided with Democrats at that point. He made it 5, and then later changed his vote once again. The other 4 Republicans that were holding out were Keith Self of Texas, Victoria Spartz of Indiana, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, from the Philadelphia area, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Have you heard Bucks County before?
Sure.
How many times have we heard Bucks County? And I texted a good friend last night. I was like, is Bucks County going to get Republicans again? I mean, it was at the center of the 2020 election drama that was going on. And those guys that go to the screen and press all the buttons on the maps, whether it's Fox or CNN or MSNBC or whatever. I mean, if we had a nickel for every time we have heard them say Bucks County, let's go take a closer look at Bucks County, Pennsylvania, we would all be very, very wealthy. But those were the 5 holdouts. And at about 2 a.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Eastern, about 2 a.m. Central Time, 4 of those 5 flipped their no votes to yes. The only holdout is Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. Republicans could have as many as 3 who sided with Democrats and still have enough votes to move that procedural measure forward to a debate and final vote. So when they got those 4 votes flipped, we moved into this next scenario where we are right now. And where we are right now is debate that is happening on the floor. Now, it's not really debate in the sense that lots of people are going to step to the microphone. There is a tradition or a courtesy that is allowed when there is a big bill that is going, where the leader of the minority party is given the opportunity to speak, and it's called the magic minute. They are granted 1 minute to speak, but ceremonially, they are allowed to basically speak as long as they want. So we currently have Hakeem Jeffries at the lectern bloviating. He's got a big binder full of notes and copy and whatever else, and he's talking and talking and talking, and he's got Democrat lawmakers sitting behind him, and they're applauding on the regular basis. Republicans could interrupt and call for a vote at any point, but out of courtesy, generally, the minority leader is allowed to finish his speech. It's expected to be, or it was expected to go for about an hour. He has been going for over an hour and is about halfway through his binder. Now, I don't know if he's going to read everything in his binder. I don't know if there are people that are going to walk into the chamber, be tired of the whole thing, and immediately call for a vote or not. But the expectation is that within the next hour or so, probably in the 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time hour, we are going to get a final vote that is, we think, just kind of a rubber stamp at this point. Getting through the procedural vote to advance the big, beautiful bill to a final vote was the hurdle that they needed to clear last night, and it appears as if the House is going to vote on and pass the big, beautiful bill in the next hour or two, hopefully while we are on the air this morning. So that is where we stand right now. And I mean, I was digging through as much stuff as I could to try to find. I used the term pomp and circumstance earlier, and I don't know if that's the right way to describe kind of what was going on last night, but it's kind of what it felt like. Wrangling may be the better. It may have been more like a rodeo, where you had one cowboy still swinging a lasso on the back of a horse, trying to wrangle those last few cows in and get them into the pen where everybody was supposed to be.
Well, and the Democrats weren't giving up. I mean, you had Congressman Chuy Garcia posting it's past midnight in D.C., and Republicans are still trying to rip health care and food from working families and to give tax breaks to billionaires. Call your Republican representative and say, hell no. Yeah. So, I mean, they weren't giving up. And it's been a epic effort here, to get this where it is now before the 4th of July.
Steve Scalise said something. You remember Steve Scalise is the representative that was shot during the practice for the baseball game a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
From Louisiana, and he said, I don't know what my Democrat colleagues are looking at. There are no new tax breaks for billionaires in this. There are tax breaks in it, but none that are new for billionaires. This is an extension of the 2017 Trump tax cuts, trying to make those permanent. We will continue to unpack this for you this morning on Mornings with Richard Cross right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Once in a while, I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati.
From the Venable Glass.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk Mississippi.
I mean, it's not Country Music Wednesday, but if that doesn't make you jiggle in your seat just a little bit, I don't know what to tell you.
Either that
Good
or
times indeed. What are you going to do tomorrow? Day off for you tomorrow?
I don't know, man. I have decided I'm going to go eat some fried catfish at Jerry's, so I know that. And then we'll go from there. We'll go from
that feels very patriotic.
Yes, yeah. It's a Mississippi patriotic, too. And, a little nostalgia mixed in there. It's always a fun place to go and go into the igloo and eat well. And so we'll just go from there and hopefully find a pool somewhere. I'll be, reaching out to all the friends that have pools. So,
well, I can give you an address for one in Oxford if you want to make a 2.5 hour, 2-hour and 20-minute drive north.
You got one, huh? Yeah.
You are
go
more
clean
than
it for
welcome.
you. I'll go clean it out for you.
It may need it after being out of town for a few days and all the rain that has come through. We got our first dose of fireworks last night.
Nice.
At the beach with family, and we had no idea. And we're walking along and saw some folks from North Mississippi that we knew, and they were like, "Hey, you guys coming down for the fireworks tonight?" It was like, it's only the 2nd of July. What's going on? So where we are, they were having the fireworks last night, so went down to the beach and sat there. And it always, I guess because people are so spread out, it's hard to do it. But it's like, I feel like you need music with fireworks.
Yeah,
and
I think
so. So I grabbed my phone and was like, well, I'll just DJ for us.
That's the way to do it there. I mean, that's what the phone is for, huh?
I always forget, though, that if you go to the 1812 Overture,
okay,
Tchaikovsky's, whatever, you got to get through 14 and a half minutes of
warm up, huh?
Of big orchestra warm up before you get to the part that you really need for the fireworks.
Send it over. I'll cut the good stuff for you.
There you go. If you could just start it at like the 14-minute mark, the last minute and a half is pretty big time. Looks like the weather's going to cooperate for the 4th of July in the home state. Today in Coldwater, mostly cloudy skies early, then partly cloudy this afternoon, high of 91. Tomorrow for the 4th in Coldwater, expect a few afternoon clouds, but mainly sunny and hot. High of 93 with winds light and variable. Flora, right there in the Jackson metro, mix of clouds and sun in the morning today, followed by cloudy skies this afternoon. Stray shower thunderstorm possible, high of 91. Tomorrow in Flora, sun and 94. What about in Petal, right there in the heart of the Pine Belt? Partly cloudy skies today, a high of 94 with a Little breeze out of the north at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow on the 4th of July, partly cloudy. Hot, high around 95. Winds out of the north at 5 to 10. And on the coast, Biloxi, sunny today with a few clouds. High around 95 today. Tomorrow, intervals of clouds and sunshines for your 4th of July. Hot and a high of 94. So pretty similar forecast across most of the state of Mississippi. Today is Tom Cruise's birthday. 63 years old, born in 1962. Risky Business, Jerry Maguire, Rain Man, the original Top Gun, the return of Top Gun with Maverick. Started his career at the age of 19 in 1981 with the film Endless Love. And then he became a full-fledged movie star when he starred as Pete Mitchell, Maverick in Top Gun, well known for that role. Well known for his role as secret agent Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible franchise.
You can't
she's lost that
handle
love
the
and
truth,
feeling.
dude, you know?
She's lost that love and feeling.
She has.
No, Mav. No, she hasn't.
No, she hasn't. We're
yes,
not
she
doing
has.
this.
You never close your eyes, any.
Yeah,
what a
epic.
great scene.
Is there maybe a more memorable, that one in the, I guess when they do the volleyball scene, that was probably the two from that movie, initially that were kind of like the iconic visuals.
Yeah,
of
but before you get to the actual
before you get to
airplane stuff.
Yeah, like the other stuff. But a guy with a name Map over the Fourth, I mean, you'd think he's a kind of a billionaire to begin with. But
I love when the officer pops out of the room and bumps into the car. That's twice.
That's twice. Yeah. And I'm going to get some butts, and I want butts now.
Butts. Yeah. That's the. Oh, it's so
they were
good.
trying to be good on. They were like, this will be played on TBS eventually, so let's not do too much cussing in here. So
yes. Thank you for mentioning A Few Good Men.
Yeah, that's
my favorite scene from A Few Good Men is not the courtroom scene, although it's epic. My favorite scene is when they are debating and he has gone off on Demi Moore.
Mm-hmm. He's got the bat with him. He's got the bat. Is that the scene?
And then they go, he really does think better with his bat.
Yeah, that's the one where he's got his bat in his hand. Interview with the Vampire, one of my favorites too. Great kind of long movie, sprawls and goes. You got Christian Slater in there and Brad Pitt and Thomas Cruise, Map over the Fourth.
There have been some darker ones along the way as well, but what a career for Tom Cruise.
Yeah, pretty good
Julian
list
Assange.
pretty good list of marriages too, with Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and Katie Holmes. That's a pretty good trifecta. I'm going to be honest. Good list. Yeah. Good list.
Julian Assange is 54 today.
The White
born in
Wizard.
1971. The Australian founder of WikiLeaks. Maybe the oldest looking 54-year-old on planet Earth.
Well, I think he's seen about 20 ghosts or something is what he looks like. But, is that guy still living in a hotel room somewhere?
Didn't he get...
I can't remember what ended
I thought
up.
he was loose now.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody said we missed Days of Thunder, best movie ever.
Oh, of course. I have Days of Thunder 3 in my head already. So,
jeez. Olivia Munn is 45 today as well. A couple of cool things that happened on this day. How about this? 1928. This is not like the invention of the zipper, like super functional, but for farmers it might be. Harry Ferguson, in 1928, was granted a patent for the 3-point hitch for tractors. Now, most modern tractors have gone to the PTO drive for implements. But even if you have a tractor with a PTO drive, you've still got a 3-point hitch on the back for when you're pulling that disc to break a little ground up.
Always fun trying to line that up by yourself, too. Yeah.
Oh. You're talking about to get the PTO shaft connected to
get it all in there just right and not angled.
3-point hitch, little bit easier. Today in 1970, the Atlanta International Pop Festival opened to 200,000 in attendance over 3 days with performances from the Allman Brothers, Grand Funk Railroad, Jimi Hendrix, Richie Havens, Cat Mother, All Night Newsboys, B.B. King, Mott the Hoople, and John Sebastian. Quite the lineup there. Today in 1976, Brian Wilson performed with the Beach Boys, the late Brian Wilson, for the first time after his 12-year stage absence. So he went from 1964 until 1976 without performing with the Beach Boys. He made his return to Anaheim Stadium in California. 1985, Back to the Future, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd, released.
Hey, and Huey Lewis in the News. A lot of music in that, too. One of my favorite bands. Mm-hmm. A great movie, though. Come on.
How about this one? 1997. Not that long ago. Mississippi became the first state to settle the tobacco lawsuit, setting a precedent for other states to pursue similar legal action. The initial agreement with Mississippi involved a $4 billion settlement with annual payments guaranteed for 25 years. The Mississippi case paved the way for a broader national settlement with tobacco companies. That was the MSA, the Master Settlement Agreement. A portion of the settlement funds were dedicated to tobacco prevention and cessation programs in Mississippi, like the Partnership for a Healthy Mississippi. The MSA placed restrictions on tobacco companies' ability to advertise, sponsor, and lobby. Under the MSA, tobacco companies continue to make annual payments to states, including to Mississippi, and that is in perpetuity. The settlement and subsequent tobacco control efforts have contributed to a significant decrease in smoking rates in the United States, as has vaping.
Yeah, it pays to be first on that deal, too. You know, I mean, Mississippi was a leader on that.
No doubt. So, and I don't think there's any question fewer people smoke today than smoked in 1997 or 1987. It's just...
Well, the cigarette ads were everywhere. I mean, they were focused ads. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember the Misty cigarettes and, Camel and all those different ones. And, they made them out to be very friendly and, they were really good at target marketing and focusing on the target group and manipulating that, and then also manipulating the nicotine in there to make them more addictive. So, yeah, removing those things had a huge impact on the smoking population.
C-Spire text line open, 601-879-4395. I tuned into CNN to see what they were reporting. Will not say big, beautiful bill. It's identified as Trump's giant spending legislation.
NPR's been a little bit nicer. I mean, they, pretty liberal outfit, but they feel it's going through, and they're being nice on the naming.
Jason in Starkville says cigarettes are also $10 a pack now, which contributes. All right, we'll take a quick time out. We'll look at some news and sports headlines when we come back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us on this third day of July 2025. We're back right after this.
Side track on Mississippi politics. Yeah! Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mississippians have come to know and love Poplarville-based country music trio Chapel Hart. But according to a Facebook post by member Danica Hart, the love has not been extended by other members of the band and the group's management. We have quite the controversy going on here. In a Facebook post on Tuesday, Danica wrote that after several months of silence, she's speaking out about physical violence and abuse and being pushed out of the band that first achieved fame on America's Got Talent. Over the past several months, she wrote, I have remained silent, but I can no longer stay quiet about what has happened. I am being pushed out of my band and my company, and throughout this time, I and other members of our team have been subjected to physical violence and abuse. I'm at the point of breaking. The group's lead vocalist wrote that Chapel Hart's management team has already typed up an unsent press release about her departure being an attempt to break up the band. Her response to that notion, quote, that is not true, close quote. According to the website, the band's website, Chapel Hart is managed under the JT3D LLC label. The music production and management team is in part led by Jeff Glixman, who Danica called out by name in the post on Facebook. She said Glixman, as well as fellow band members Trey Swindle and her sister Devin Hart, have signed a document to continue under the Chapel Hart name if Danica did not sign by midnight last night. This came after she voiced her concerns about bad behavior and immorality going on that had no consequence or repercussions. She said, I received a message tonight stating that if I... So this was, I guess, late Monday night when she made this post, or maybe it's Tuesday morning. I received a message tonight saying that if I didn't sign a document typed up by Jeff Glixman and Trey Swindle and Devin Hart saying if I didn't sign it by 12 a.m., they would be continuing their career in Chapel Hart without me. My question is how? She went on to kind of throw out a lifeline and said, I would like to seek legal counsel to figure out how to move forward, as I am not sure how to proceed legally at this time. I really need an entertainment attorney or maybe a regular attorney or any suggestion on what to do. Please help.
That is crazy, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Man, I thought everything was rolling along just fine.
I mean, they all seemed to be awfully happy when we last visited with them. Man,
that is a crazy turn. Just hope it's resolved, I mean, what a great band, and they have absolutely been in the stratosphere, yeah.
This upcoming Independence Day weekend is expected to be a busy one, with as many as 72 million Americans taking their celebrations on the road. Mississippi Highway Patrol is one of many state and local agencies gearing up for the surge this weekend. They announced yesterday that the annual travel enforcement period will kick off at midnight tonight, Thursday, July 3rd, and will run through midnight on Sunday. In that 4-day span, a higher than usual number of troopers will be deployed across the Magnolia State, conducting high-visibility patrols, establishing strategic checkpoints aimed at deterring impaired and unsafe driving behavior. The intensified law enforcement efforts the holiday weekend are all focused on enhancing road safety with a strong emphasis on promoting proper use of seatbelts and child restraint systems. Last year, MHP investigated 141 wrecks during the Independence Day travel period. 4 of the crashes were fatal. 149 DUI arrests were made on state and federal highway systems, along with 876 citations issued for occupant restraint violations. All right, a lot of words. And those words mean slow down, don't drink and drive, and make sure that your kids are in a properly fitting car seat if they are of the age where they need that, and wear your seatbelt.
Yeah, it's
that's the summary, right?
It is. There's a lot of wrecks, fatalities last year. You just got to be careful. I mean, my brother-in-law was been out for a week and a half with the son, travel ball and all that. Gets back to Mississippi yesterday and gets T-boned by somebody pulling out in front of him. Thank God he's okay. But that's that kind of. This happens a lot more around these weekends. And so my advice, whether you're out in the country or you're in the metropolitan areas, just keep your head on a swivel, folks. I mean, this is a serious thing. And any of the highway patrol folks will say one thing: slow down, wear your seatbelts, do not drink and drive. Stick to that. You'll be okay. And pay attention for those that are, not doing right, and stay away from them.
The Office of the State Auditor announced another guilty verdict yesterday, this time a former clerk in Sardis. According to a release, Lisa Goodson pleaded guilty to 1 count of embezzlement of public funds, previously served as clerk for the town of Sardis, the Sardis Water Department, and admitting to stealing over $1,500 through her position, took cash from water payments and then deleted the transactions from the payment system to hide the theft. Sentenced to 10 years of post-release supervision in order to pay $1,100 in fines and $1,531.68 in restitution. This comes on the heels of a Tuesday announcement from Shad White's office, where they announced a former Sardis Fire Department employee pleaded guilty to embezzling public funds. William Clark, who held the positions of secretary and treasurer for the department, admitted to submitting inflated emergency response numbers in order to receive payments to which he was not entitled. He was sentenced to 10 years post-release supervision in order to pay $1,100 in fines and $7,500 in restitution. And on Monday, a former employee with the Panola County Road Department was sentenced to 1 day behind bars and had to pay over $10,600 in fines and restitutions. Carville Russell admitted to using a work-only fuel card to purchase gasoline for his personal vehicle. That is a no-no. And so there you go. It feels as if there was a whistleblower in Panola County.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I mean, two of those happening in Sardis and one happening with the road department there in Panola County. Somebody said enough is enough. You need to investigate this. And the state auditor did so and not only investigated but got convictions as well.
Hey, and one thing you can learn from that, it doesn't matter if it's
don't steal.
$1, $1,000, or $100 million. You're going to get caught. So, that's just some advice. You're not going to win on that.
I have a good buddy who has a very profound statement. You ready for it?
Yes, I'd love to hear this.
Can't stand a thief.
That's my dad. I mean, come on.
Can't stand a thief.
My dad, I grew up with that. That's a liar and a thief, man. Those are the two that drive him crazy. So, but yeah, you're going to get caught. So that's just the way it works. Doesn't matter if it's a buck.
Your morning sports update on MRC is brought to you by PRR. That's Pearl River Resort. Visit them online at pearlriverresort.com. Your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Pearl River Resort.
That's going to be banging.
History.
That's going to be banging this weekend. Ooh, Pearl River Resort.
Sports?
No, Pearl River
Pearl
Resort.
River Resort.
I think it's
Oh, man.
epic
Yeah.
up there, man. Come on.
No doubt. No doubt. Casino will be popping. Restaurants will be full. Geyser Falls Water Park. I mean, you're going to need a place to cool off, and that is as good a spot as any. Had history in Major League Baseball last night as Clayton Kershaw became just the 20th pitcher in MLB history to notch 3,000 career strikeouts. 3,000.
Man, he's something.
That's a bunch of punchies.
Yes. And, I mean, not only does he have amazing stuff, but his wind-up and delivery is a little weird to begin with. So, he just has that it factor. He's not the most overpowering guy, but 3,000 Ks, I mean, that speaks for itself, right? I wouldn't want to face him. Yeah, that curveball.
That slider.
Man.
Real good. Diego Luna scored twice in the first 15 minutes, and the United States hung on to beat Guatemala 2-1 to reach its first CONCACAF Gold Cup since 2021. Luna put the U.S. ahead with a left-footed shot in just the 4th minute of the game, then scored with his right in the 15th for his 3rd goal in 2 games. The U.S. plays defending champion Mexico or Honduras for the title on Sunday in Houston. The Americans' last competitive match before their World Cup opener next June. Mexico has won 9 Gold Cups. The U.S. has won 7. Canada's got 1. The 16th ranked Americans advanced to the Gold Cup final for the 13th time. All 5 of their losses in Gold Cup finals have been to Mexico. Maybe we got another 2-0, as Rhino loves so much. Maybe a 2-0 win over Mexico in the Gold Cup.
2-0.
And finally, to wrap up our sports headlines this morning, brought to you by Pearl River Resort, the Mississippi State baseball program and its fans are mourning the loss of Caleb Reed, a former pitcher who passed away from cancer at the young age of just 35. He's a Cleveland native, alumnus of Bayou Academy, played in Starkville from 2009 to 2012. He was a team captain and an all-SEC pitcher during his senior season, helped the Bulldogs win an SEC championship. Statement from Mississippi State said, "We're saddened by the passing of former All-SEC reliever Caleb Reed. Caleb was an integral part of our 2011 Super Regional squad and the 2012 SEC Tournament Championship team. Our condolences to his family, friends, and teammates. Key piece to the Bulldogs' bullpen in his time in Starkville, notching 125 career strikeouts with 12 saves. He was also a star in the classroom, 3-time All-SEC Academic Honor Roll selection. GoFundMe page was set up for the Reed family. He was diagnosed with an aggressive leukemia lymphoma back in May. Husband, father of 3. Funeral arrangements have not been announced at this time. If you want to participate in that GoFundMe, again, that page has been set up. Just search on the GoFundMe. It's under Caleb Reed's Cancer Fight. Those are your sports headlines brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
From the Venable Glass Truck.
Mississippi in the know. One morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Thursday morning with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Lance is killing it with the TV tunes.
Thank you. I have one more for you.
Love
in this first hour.
Love it.
Going into a vacation, you gotta get some TV time in.
Keith in Vaden says, they always say don't drink and drive, but I see more people on their phone while driving than people drinking and driving.
I agree with that.
Okay.
And in the left lane with their bright lights on. That's the new cool thing to do, but I digress.
Larry and Maya says, and put down your phone while driving as well.
It would be helpful. Yeah.
Just, you got to admit your flaws sometimes, and I feel like that Keith and Larry might be talking to me. Although I've gotten better. My daughter says I've got my Uber driver mount. Right. Yeah. Got one of those mounts that it's magnetic and you can stick your phone on there so you're not looking down. I don't know. Need to be better. Thomas in Greenwood, 'tis crazy times. I didn't expect Massey to cave, but it's not the main vote, so maybe he has a plan. LOL. If we could be a fly on the wall, or a fly just buzzing around the Capitol, and you could hear what was said and by whom to Thomas Massey to ultimately sway him to change his vote from no to yes at 2 o'clock this morning. Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like
what
to
was
know?
in the file, that was, hey, we got a file here. Let's open it up to page 3. Oh, no, don't worry about that, sir. I'll vote yeah. Who knows what kind of leverage is used in those situations, though.
And then one more on the C-Spire text line before we get to our lottery update. Richard, is there not some way to keep more of our Mississippi football players in Mississippi with some kind of tax break for the family or something? I like where your heart is. I love the idea of keeping more of Mississippi's best high school football players in the state of Mississippi. But I am not on board with the idea of you create some sort of loophole in the tax code for the sake of getting high school football players to agree to play for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years at one of our Mississippi schools. I know there are other states that have done that. I am all for being creative and coming up with ways to sweeten the spot. I think some of the biggest donors to paying players should be the cities in which the universities arrive, including my hometown of Oxford, because there is no bigger economic driver than a successful football program in Oxford, Starkville, Hattiesburg, et al. But carving something out in the tax code to convince guys to say, I'm out on that. I just am. And if that makes me a curmudgeon, then so be it. Sign me up for Curmudgeonville. Thanks for the note, though. I do appreciate that very much on the C-Spire text line. You can join the conversation, as many of you are this morning. Hey, if you're on the road this morning, we hope you will be careful as you travel going into this holiday weekend as we celebrate the independence of the United States of America. All right, let's get to the lottery update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. Lotto America, no jackpot winner last night, $2.5 million for the next drawing. Estimated cash value of $1.14 million for that next drawing in Lotto America. We had no jackpot winner with the Powerball last night, so it goes up to $174 million with an estimated cash value of $79.7 million. I'm looking at the wrong update, Lance.
I thought
although
you
those
meant
numbers
me.
are still
close,
accurate.
Pretty close.
Yeah, those numbers are still accurate.
Well, double play your numbers from Wednesday to July 2nd, 10, 18, 21, 37, 40, Powerball of 10, Mega Millions, no jackpot winner up to $60 million. You got a big drawing tomorrow on the 4th. You get to take home $26.9 million if you win it. And the numbers from the Tuesday drawing, 19, 28, 31, 39, 54, Mega Ball of 5. And match 5.
And when I say those numbers are still accurate, what I mean is the numbers that I gave you, just add to that.
Yeah, just go up. Nobody won yet.
Yeah.
Mississippi Match 5 up to
Lotto
320.
America at $2.55 million and Powerball up to $190 million.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, Mississippi Match 5 is climbing on up there, $320K. No jackpot yet. Wednesday's numbers 4, 6, 7, 12, and 14.
The results are in from the Sizzlin' Summer Cash bonus promo drawing that was held yesterday. Congratulations to the $15,000 winner from Madison, Mississippi, the $10,000 winner in Starkville, the $5,000 that's headed to Hattiesburg, and the $500 each for winners in Petal, Brandon, Summit, Ripley, and Boonville. Don't sweat it if you didn't win this time, because the next Sizzlin' Summer bonus drawing is coming up on Wednesday, July 16th, with the same cash prizes up for grabs. Just enter your non-winning hot games, $2 heat stroke, $5 blazing hot bucks, or $10 red hot cash by 11:59 on Sunday, July 13th for your next shot at Sizzlin' Summer Cash. That is your Mississippi Lottery update. Get your tickets at your local Mississippi Lottery retailer. 7 o'clock hour, just around the corner. News is next. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
To the side.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Just crushing it this morning. Absolutely crushing it. My man Lance, spinning records in the big studio.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. We roll into the 7 o'clock hour hour of the show. Brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Thanks for being with us this morning. I have, on my laptop on the side, I've got News Channel pulled up and just trying to kind of keep an eye on what is happening on the floor. Hakeem Jeffries continues to speak as his magic minute has turned into over 2 hours. We are into the 8 o'clock hour Eastern time when Speaker Mike Johnson has predicted that a final vote will take place on the big, beautiful bill. And when that vote takes place, there is an expectation that Republicans are going to pass it by the slimmest of margins, but the margin for Republicans in the House is slim already. We knew that. And if you go back to I guess the days leading up to the inauguration, as President Trump was filling out his cabinet, and you saw some pretty key leaders who were pulled from Congress, who were Republicans, to fill cabinet positions, and you're like, you're going to have to wait on special elections to get the new people in place, and that margin that's already small is going to be even smaller. Kind of seeing that come to fruition. So with Hakeem Jeffries at the lectern in the Capitol, I am struck by the people who are sitting behind him. He's got Democratic lawmakers that are sitting directly behind him, and they are sitting and listening, and some of them are whispering among themselves. And Lance, I have two thoughts right now. See if I can create two real life examples. Number one, we've all been there at some point. You had a really long week. You stayed up later than you intended to, or maybe later than you should have on Saturday night. You go to church on Sunday morning. It's a little warmer in the sanctuary than maybe it normally is. The message that is coming from the pulpit is, for one reason or another, not connecting and fully engaging with you the way it sometimes does. And you know what happens then, right? Those eyelids get a little heavy. Your chin starts to drop. And then you kind of shake and you like wake yourself up. Yes. After an all-night-long session and a week that has been just exhausting for members of Congress. And I'm not making any excuses for them, right? I'm not. They've got to be exhausted. And I just keep waiting for somebody that is sitting directly behind Hakeem Jeffries to have that glazed-over eyes look come over them, and the eyelids start to flutter, and that chin starts to drop before they shake themselves and wake up like, oh, can't go to sleep. Can't do that in church. Can't do that in Congress.
Yeah, the TV's on. That's right.
That's number one. And number two, I'm not an NBA fan, but I thought this was the best NBA example I could come up with. The fans are in the stands. They are sitting there. They have watched their team give up a narrow lead in the fourth quarter of the seventh game of the NBA Finals. Now I get that these timelines are not going to line up exactly. They have watched that lead dwindle, and now they're down 7 with about a minute and a half to play. They're having to foul. Problem is they're sending the all-time leading free throw shooter in the NBA's history, Steph Curry, to the line to try and continue to either maintain or extend the lead. And the guy that keeps getting to the free throw line on the other side is Shaq, who makes about half of them. So, yes, there is still a chance that 91.1% career free throw shooter Steph Curry could miss some free throws, and 50% career free throw shooter Shaq could make some free throws. But the odds are long, and the outcome appears determined. And yet, it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and so you can't walk away. No. You can't leave. Well, you nod, you politely applause, you stand and say, go team. But you know what the final score, you don't know the actual final score, but you know the outcome. It's what it feels like right now, which is crazy because 8 hours ago, 5 hours ago, when you were looking at the tote board in the Capitol for the votes on this big, beautiful bill, you saw 216 votes for Democrats. You knew that the Republicans needed 217. You saw that 5 Republicans had sided with your crew, and you saw that 9 hadn't voted yet. And one of those 9 was Thomas Massey. And so you felt really, really good about where this thing was headed. We are going to defeat the big, beautiful bill. They're not going to have enough to get it to the final vote. But that's not where it is, as 4 of the 5 Republican holdouts have switched their no vote to yes, pushing toward a final vote on the House floor for the big, beautiful bill. And that's going to come when Hakeem Jeffries finishes his time.
Well, maybe they're just wanting like a pizza party weekend or something, and a lot of shakaronis don't want to go home for the 4th, just want to hang out. But it's like you said. I think they've been burning the midnight oil on both ends, and folks are going to start dropping like flies if they don't get this thing passed through today. You can only imagine.
I mean, let's see. This was at 10:52 Central Time last night. You had 207 Republican yays, 212 Democrat nays, 5 Republican nays, and so it was a 10-point lead for Democrats approaching 11 o'clock Central Time, midnight on the East Coast in Washington, D.C. last night. 4 of the 5 nays and all 8 of the no votes broke for Republicans. And we are on the way to a 217-216. I guess that was the 217-216 was the final tally in last night's. Well, that's not right. Let's see. If you take 4 away, that would have been 213. And then you add 8 and 4 is 12. So that would have been 219 to 214, I think, where it finished and advanced to this floor vote that is coming up, we think, within the hour as Hakeem Jeffries continues to talk and say things that we've heard over and over and over. I mentioned this in the 6 o'clock hour for those of you that were not with us. I thought Steve Scalise, the majority leader, said something really interesting. And it's a question that I've had, but I've almost kind of felt dumb saying it out loud or asking the question out loud because there's so much in this bill. And you have heard Democrats from the talking points over and over and over say, tax breaks for billionaires, tax breaks for billionaires. And Steve Scalise just said, I don't know what it is that my Democrat colleagues are looking at, are reading, are seeing. There are no new tax breaks for Democrats in this bill. It's status quo in terms of the tax code for the wealthiest Americans. Now maybe they are trying to frame it in the sense as, Donald Trump in 2017 put in tax breaks that were beneficial for corporations and billionaires, and they're continuing that. But it's not new. And the truth of the matter is there are tax breaks in this bill for lower-earning individuals, lower-earning families, including a chance to make more money if you rely on tips, including a chance to make more money and put more money in your pocket if you rely on overtime, including, what is it? It's either deductions or credits. I can't remember.
The SALT tax credit?
On interest paid. Well, no, interest paid on car loans.
There you go.
That's not something that we've had in the past. You get a car loan. You got principal and interest in that loan. That interest that you pay will be deductible on your taxes. The Senate did some work on the SALT deductions. The House wanted that SALT deduction going out to $50,000. The Senate pulled it back to $40,000, which is up from $10,000, but only for 5 years. And after 5 years, it goes away. So it's a little bit more palatable there, and I guess you kind of got something for everybody. We will continue with you when we come back. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Every rock is mine. No one works quite so easy like those boys of mine.
From the Venable Glass Track.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. You can be part of the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Ready for your winning strategy? Here it is. Join C Spire. All the technology and support you need to succeed at home, at work, and everywhere. Visit cspire.com. Today, C Spire, inspired by you. Doesn't everyone, at least in this part of the country, have a dream of owning land? Maybe it's a big place where you make the hunting rules. You don't have to have a board tell you, hey, this is how it's going to be. You get to decide. It's your place. Maybe it's a smaller tract of land where you want to build your dream home or maybe put a cabin there just to have a weekend getaway. Maybe you recognize that land is a great investment because, why is that, Lance? Because they're just not making any more of it.
Making a lot more people.
I want to tell you about my friends. That's right. More people, not more land. So it is a pleasure for me to tell you about my friends at David Fisher Land Company. David Fisher Land Company is based in Inverness, Mississippi, right in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, but they service the entire state of Mississippi, plus Louisiana and Arkansas. David Fisher Land Company has 40 years of experience in farm and recreational land brokerage, land appraisals, and farmland management. Whether you're looking for 100 acres or several thousand acres or an equity share in a hunting club, anywhere from DeSoto County to the South Delta, David Fisher Land Company is ready to earn your business. And with customers across the Southeast, David Fisher Land Company is the perfect choice for the property you want or need to sell. I could give you their phone number. I could give you email addresses, but let's just be honest with each other. You're not going to remember a phone number. You're not going to remember an email address. But this is something that you can remember. DavidFisherLand.com. Straight spelling of it. No C in there. DavidFisherLand.com. DavidFisherLand.com. Reach out to David, to Jack, or to Travis. They'd love to help you with your land needs. And do us a favor. Tell them you heard about them right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. David Fisher Land Company. DavidFisherLand.com. Good to be with you this morning. You can join the conversation again on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. We continue to get the droning of Hakeem Jeffries on the floor of the Capitol, on the House floor. And Lance, sometimes even a blind squirrel finds a nut. I nailed it. I nailed it. The glazed-over eyes that finally droop with the chin that falls. Two rows behind Hakeem Jeffries. Second row. You've got the lady who's sitting there in a blazer with a white shirt on, and she's still awake, the lady with blonde hair. But directly behind her, a Democrat lawmaker who has had all she can take. She has given up the ghost to Night Night Land.
It happens. Yeah, when you're not very interested.
The chin has gone to the chest. The eyes are closed.
Defeat.
She has made it for as long as she can make it. Sleepy time has arrived.
It always wins.
It was inevitable.
Yeah, it wins. Sleepy time wins over everything at some point. And
eventually.
Yeah,
one way or another, eventually.
Especially when you know you're not going to win. Game's kind of over. You're tired. You want to go home for the weekend. 4th of July. Shoot some fireworks with the kids and all that. Yeah, they're going to start falling asleep fast. That'd be my bet.
We saw it a couple of days ago. John Fetterman was so frustrated. And Democrats got mad at him. And other people got mad at him. It was like, it's literally your job to be here. But he's like, I just want to go home. Yeah. Miss my beach vacation. My family's already going to be home before I am, and I missed the entire vacation. What are we talking about? What do we just vote on this thing and go home? What are we doing? Fetterman.
He kind of getting there as far as earning respect from across the aisle. I think from a lot of the Republicans are looking at him going, wow, man, if only the Democrats would kind of exercise a little bit more of that logic rather than the emotional outbursts that seem to, take over the party at times.
Lance, I agree, but he says all of these common sense things. He frustrates Democrats with how open he is to logical thinking, but then he votes the same way.
Yeah, well.
And so to what end? Now, there are Republican supporters, particularly of Thomas Massie, if indeed in this final vote he votes yes for the big, beautiful bill, that say it's the exact same thing, right? They say, look, he says all the common sense things. He says the debt is a problem. He says the deficit is a problem. He says under no circumstances will he vote for the bill. And then what happens? When you need the vote, the bill to get to a vote for final passage, he changes. And there are people that have called him a grandstander. I've really dug in on Thomas Massie a good bit in the last few days and weeks, and he is truly an interesting guy. Educated at MIT, he's an electrical engineer. He's got the little digital debt counter lapel pin that he wears, on his suit jacket. He didn't go buy that at Dollar General, though. Like, he made it. Like he took the components and put the thing together and made it and wears it on his lapel pin. And it's got Wi-Fi connectivity, and it connects to like the I don't know, whatever server carries the actual debt number, and it just continues rolling and rolling. When he's in D.C., he does not stay in an apartment. He does not have a house there. He does not get a hotel room. He drives a Ford F-250, tip of the cap, that has a camper on the back of it. And he parks it in a congressional lot.
Wow. I've never seen that.
And runs an extension cord to power it.
Yeah, I worked up there. I never saw that happen. But
yeah.
I mean, the guy's an MIT grad. MIT.
He is.
Yeah, smart feller.
Fully off the grid at his home in Kentucky.
Yeah, and he's not wrong.
In that conversation that Thomas told me to listen to in the Theo Von podcast, he's got chickens, and he talked about he invented a remotely movable chicken coop, or an automated chicken coop, so that the chicken don't continue to feed in their own excrement.
Yeah.
Like every so often, it just moves to another spot in the yard. And since he's not there to move it himself because he's in D.C. so much, it happens automatically.
Hey, another cool thing about him, though, honestly, he's a West Virginian, but his dad was a beer distributor. So and he knows that you guys got to be able to enjoy a beer. I mean, so.
I don't think he's anti that.
No, he seems like he's such a smart guy. Sometimes the smartest of them is difficult to understand, and he's not wrong about the debt calendar and the debt clock. He's not. I mean, this has been going on for a long time, though, and there's very few up there that have the mindset that he does. Rand Paul and a few others are the fiscal conservative Republicans, but that debt clock is going to keep spinning. And debt is circular. It's not linear. And, we're selling debt. These people over here are buying it. This country buys their debt, so on and so forth. That's the way the world works. And if you want to rework the entire financial system, go for it. But the way the world works is how this is functioning now, whether you like it or not. Debt is the way of the world, and that's where the growth in the world, in the developed world, is coming from. So, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying it's the healthiest way to go about it, but that's how it works. And floating debt, $5 trillion debt ceiling increase. This stuff's going to continue until you find some other method to fund all the things that we have to fund. I don't see anything on the table.
And it appears that this administration is betting on economic growth.
That's the only other. You got to
cover the nut.
That's right.
You either got to cut or grow.
That's it.
And they've said we're going to grow. And Scott Bessent is a really, really smart guy. And he has consistently said, we're going to grow our way out of this debt crisis as opposed to cutting services.
You're not going to cut enough to make that big of a difference, so you better grow. You better be doing something to bring revenue in and create jobs and tax dollars. And it's not a very complicated process. Like you said, you either got to cut or grow, or do both. And the amount of cuts are not going to amount to much in terms of reducing that.
Ceasefire text line, Massey is the only Republican that doesn't take money from AIPAC. He is a true American. AIPAC is the Israeli Political Action Committee. Tim and McGee says, I hope he gets removed with a true Republican, move him inside of the chicken coop. I mean, look, the modern Republican Party is just it's more middle of the road than it is far right. At least in D.C. Richard, I'm glad you've looked into Massey. He has an incredible story. He really does. Really does. Lost his wife about a year ago. Lost her in a battle to cancer. Mandy Gunasekara going to join us coming up next. We'll talk with her about this bill and what is happening on the floor of the Capitol. This is MRC. Right back. This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
And now, Mornings with Richard Cross. What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Once again, good morning. Welcome back. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Glad to have you along for the ride. We welcome your text messages. Have gotten a lot of them on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. But right now, we are joined by someone who knows her way around inside the Beltway, Mandy Gunasekara, former EPA Chief of Staff. She is an author as well and is soon to be a mother of 3, not just a mother of 2. Congratulations on that. Mandy, always good to see you. Happy Independence Day weekend to you and your family, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's really great to be with you, Richard.
We are watching political theater unfold live. I stuck with it as long as I could last night. At about 11:30, it looked like we were kind of stalling and not a whole lot was going to happen. It was about 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock on the East Coast in Washington, D.C., when there was a flip in the voting that pushed us to a final vote, but not until after the magic minute and the bloviating of Hakeem Jeffries for now over 2 hours on the Capitol floor. You've seen this before. I don't know if we've seen it exactly unfold like this. Just your big picture thoughts on the way this is all unfolding.
Well, this is the Democrats trying to make their last stand, trying to throw as much misinformation as we've seen about the one big beautiful bill. And so they're going to put all they have into these final few minutes that they have to make their relative points. Because once it's passed, no one's really going to be paying attention to them. It's going to go straight to President Trump. And I guarantee you that President Trump has big plans for celebrating the success of this bill passage in the Senate and the House, as he's promised, on July 4th, with all the pomp and circumstance one would expect from the President Trump White House, which will be over the top and very patriotic. But nonetheless, I think political theater, that's spot on, Richard. That's what you're seeing in a lot of ways. Once this passed the Senate, it was pretty, for those of us who've been around this block a time or two, we knew that the House was going to adopt it. There would probably be some last minute fights, a few holdouts. That is always the case because no bill is perfect, but as they say, you can't let perfect be the enemy of good, and progress in terms of what the president's America First agenda is in the big picture. And we got some really great conservative wins. Not all, there's some ugly parts to it for sure, but overall, that's what our members are voting on. So we knew it was ultimately going to get through.
Yeah, so much to unpack there. Let's start with where we were at bedtime last night. There were 5 Republican no votes at that time, including Thomas Massey's vote, and it didn't really feel like there was a lot of opportunity to flip him. You had Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Keith Self of Texas, Victoria Spartz of Indiana, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. It's only Bucks County, Pennsylvania that held out and stuck with that no vote, but that was enough to be at 219 to 213, which pushed it to this final vote, which we think is going to come within the hour if Hakeem Jeffries ever stops talking. What do you believe happened? What negotiations happened? What convincing happened with those 4 who flipped from a no to a yes, particularly with Thomas Massey, who's been maybe the most outspoken House member?
Yeah, I think we knew the president was going to be personally involved in whoever these last minute holdouts ultimately were. I'm sure he has been on the phone with them. I bet they've negotiated some events with the president or prioritizing some of their broader respective policy goals. For Thomas Massey, he's big on border security. He's big on a few other issues. I'm sure that they've made promises to highlight those through executive order actions or in the event that they're doing events focused on them, to do those in their respective districts or play in ways that will be very beneficial to their core constituencies. That's step one. The other piece of Thomas Massey, I think it's the realization that he's a true fiscal hawk, and we love that. We want that. We want someone who is pushing the priority of getting our fiscal house in order. But at the end of the day, the reconciliation bill is limited in what you can do, because ultimately getting down deficits and balancing out the budget, it's going to require major reforms to entitlement programs. This is going to require policy changes. And as we saw play out in the Senate, the policy changes by virtue of this reconciliation path would require a 60 vote minimum threshold in the Senate. That is not realistic. You can talk policy purity all you want, but at the end of the day, if you want to get things done, you're going to have to be willing to negotiate and save those fights for another day when you're in the right policy space versus the budget reconciliation space. So I think it was a combination of making some personal promises from the president and his team to help them out, understanding political vulnerabilities, understanding policy commitments. He wants the Republican Party to look good and united. And at the end of the day, he went out of his way to try to make that happen, which he did, except for, of course, Bucks County, which is always at the center of these interesting political back and forths.
It's funny how that suburban Philadelphia county continues to pop onto our screens. Some of the reporting last night I thought was really interesting was about executive orders on the backside of this, like President Trump, his staff, Republicans writ large recognize that this bill doesn't accomplish everything they want it to accomplish. And so it sounded like there was some deal making with regard to executive orders or standalone legislation that could come on the backside of this to get some of the things done that the Trump administration or specific Republicans want done. Is that normal in a scenario like this? Because there was one thing that one of the reporters pointed out, I can't remember specifically, but there was a signed document that Chuck Schumer gave to a Republican somewhere along the way that said, we will handle this way moving forward if we're able to get it across the finish line. It was an interesting way of looking at it, I thought.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's all sorts of ways the wheeling and dealing manifests itself in these final discussions. What you saw with Lisa Murkowski in Alaska is she actually had official policies included in or pared back in the One Big Beautiful Bill in the final Senate package. Others, though, making these promises to endorse standalone legislation. That's a really big deal. I mean, getting the president, and it's not just him, it's his entire legislative team, to support a standalone piece of legislation that is really important to any member of Congress. Man, that is a dream. If I had worked for a member who had that kind of political commitment and capital, it would have been great in terms of something we talk about a lot on the Hill called momentum. You've got the president and the White House backing it. That's going to create a ton of momentum and really prioritize whatever that issue is from actually getting across the finish line, whether it's standalone or whether it's a part of some other larger bill that's coming down the path. There's still going to be, we've got a farm bill to work on in the next few years. Those are big opportunities where some of these issues will rightfully fit in, and there's a few others down the line.
Yeah, Farm Bill only 3 years expired at this point, so maybe in another 4 or 5 years we'll get to a new one. We'll see how that plays out. Certainly something that matters to Mississippi. I wrote this down a second ago just because I didn't want to lose a thought. The biggest illustration of elections matter. We're in it right now. You talked about the 60 vote threshold in the Senate versus the 50 plus 1 on a reconciliation bill. We see the razor thin margin in the Senate. We see the razor thin margin in the House. If you want to get meaningful legislation done, having a little cushion is nice. There is no cushion, or virtually no cushion right now for Republicans. And yet Mike Johnson seems to somehow be able to navigate this ship through really, really rocky shoreline, and it looks like he's going to get it safely to harbor.
Yeah, I think so. He's done an amazing job, and he is what they call a legislator's legislator. He understands the process. He speaks very authentically and with empathy towards members who he knows are going to struggle going back and selling to their core constituencies as to why this is beneficial. And so I just think that he truly was the man necessary to rise and become speaker to try and navigate, as you rightly put it, these treacherous waters. Let's stick with that. I do think, he'd been working closely with Senator Thune and President Trump. I also think another big piece of this is the fact that President President Trump has come a long way from understanding how to work with Congress. You go back to the early days of the first administration, and there was a lot of flippant dismissals of Congress's role, and they are a co-equal branch. You don't always see that. You don't always understand that. But President Trump, he knows how to loop Congress into being a part of his deals, and in ways that make the party and the individual members look good in the eyes of their constituency.
It really is a fascinating dynamic. It is equal parts carrot and whip right now for President Trump, when in the past it felt like it was whip about 90% of the time. Can you hang with us through the break and visit just a couple more minutes?
Yeah, sure can.
Mandy Gunasekara, former EPA chief during the first Trump administration, chief of staff there, and author as well. Y'all Fired is the name of the book. You can get that wherever you buy books. We got more coming up as we wrap up the 7 o'clock hour. Next, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
From the Venable.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk Mississippi.
Come and knock on our door. Come and knock on our door. Been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you.
That's the classic TV jingle theme song file this morning. And it's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Mornings with Richard Cross, wrapping up the 7 o'clock hour. Mandy Gunasekara is my guest. We were talking about the big, beautiful bill, but other news happening as well, including the jobs report coming out, in which 147,000 new jobs were added in June of this year. That is about 37,000 ahead of estimates, and unemployment is down currently at 4.1%. The good news continues to come in for this administration. What's fueling that, Mandy?
Yeah, the President's America First agenda, which really centers around deregulation and sending positive signals to the marketplace for some of our baseline industries, mainly our energy industry. The fact that President Trump has prioritized energy dominance, I mean, everything is built on energy in this country. And for the past 4 years, you had the president focusing on shutting down projects, on making us more reliant on unstable international entities to get the energy resources that we need, and forcing things like wind and solar that are unreliable in a baseload capacity. They were trying to put them, put the shoe where it doesn't ultimately fit in the energy grid, which had devastating effects. And all of those unreliable, the unreliability as well as the cost increases that trickles on up in the form of high costs that suppresses economic development and makes it harder for this economy to grow. So President Trump, day one, American energy dominance is back. Not only is he saying we're going to unleash U.S. oil and gas, he's passing policies at the Department of Energy, the Department of Interior, and the EPA, making it easier for the people who want to make those investments to do so. And he's also cutting unnecessary regulations. It's the three-pronged stool, the same we saw in the first go-round. The third piece of this, of course, is the big, beautiful bill instituting his economic policies. And I think the economy, outside of some of the downer pundits that are trying to paint a negative picture, but the economy itself sees the growth potential coming together with this three-pronged approach President Trump has been implementing, and that's why we're continuing to see these benefits play out.
The energy policy conversation is a fascinating one to me. Republicans say drill, baby, drill, and that's not just for oil, that's for natural gas as well. But most people admit that energy independence in the United States happens when there is diversified energy production options. So yes, it's oil, yes, it's natural gas, but it's also wind and solar and, whatever other emerging technology comes along. In this big bill, some of these green energy tax credits that have been in place are going to go away. Elon Musk was very outspoken on X the last couple of days about this is ripping apart the energy the energy progress for the United States and is going to cripple things. How do we make all of that dovetail and work together?
Yeah, I totally disagree with Elon's position on this because by taking away these tax credits, and these aren't industry-wide basic deduction and tax credits that anyone who operates in the energy industry writ large has access to. This was special treatment for mainly wind and solar. And what it did is it incentivized the development of these projects in areas that simply did not make sense. People would develop out solar farms for a quick buck in the short term, but in the long term, it degraded the reliability of the grid and ultimately what we, the consumers, ultimately pay. And so the bigger picture of this is taking away these tax credits means that these technologies have to compete in the energy marketplace. And right now, the best bang for your buck is traditional energy, coal, oil, and natural gas, which, mind you, today's coal, oil, and natural gas is not what we were dealing with back in the 1970s when the EPA was formed and we were learning about the ways to control emissions, various emissions, which we do so quite well now. These are really efficient, modern ways to extract these sources, refine them, and then use them in the way we need to fuel a growing economy. Plus, with the fact that we're looking at the AI revolution and all of the cryptocurrencies, demand is going to continue to increase exponentially. So if we want to be a leader in some of these digital currency ways, we are going to have to catch up. So I disagree with what Elon and what some of these other people are saying. America, we are going to continue to lead on innovative technologies, whether it's in the energy space, whether it's in the balancing out environmental protection space, or leading the world as we go into this more digitized economy.
And that hits close to home, right? Because we've seen the economic announcements in Mississippi. We know that a lot of these data storage facilities are going to require a lot of power. And we got to make sure. It's still strange to drive between Oxford and Clarksdale and see a solar farm, or it'd be rolling along on I-55 and see these solar panels and just wonder, okay, is that really worth the investment? Mandy, unfortunately, we're out of time. Always enjoy the conversations. Hope you and your family have a great Independence Day weekend, and look forward to visiting again soon.
All right, sounds good. Always good to be with y'all.
Mandy Gunasekara joining us on Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
Whatever brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world, looking for that woman girl who knows love can endure. And you know it will.
The great late Jimmy Buffett. That's some good Independence Day, 4th of July weekend tunes. I have to fire that up on the Bluetooth speaker on the beach today.
I got them all going for you in this hour.
I love it.
Yeah, all the good ones.
I absolutely love it. That is the voice of Lance Tolbert. I'm Richard Cross. We're glad to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. We began at 6 a.m., 6:06, and I said it appears as if during this program today something truly historic is going to happen. That'll be the passage of this big reconciliation bill. I don't know. Maybe it's not truly historic. It's significant. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Hakeem Jeffries is still going. He has closed one 1-inch binder that he read through thoroughly and has opened another. He just pulled a sheet out while we were in the break. I was watching Fox and CNN have decided to stop carrying his live remarks. They're doing the rest of their morning shows right now. But the old cspan.com is giving me the full view of the floor speech in the Capitol. And Hakeem Jeffries is still going. The speaker just had to call a point of order and ask people to take their conversations outside the chamber. He's currently slowly reading statements by his Republican colleagues that he says flummoxed them. Thomas in Greenwood says, I did not consider that Hakeem Jeffries had a catheter installed before this marathon speaking session began. You're right, Thomas. I did not think about Hakeem Jeffries with a catheter. I did not consider that this morning. You're right. So at some point, Hakeem Jeffries will either be stopped from his magic minute, which is now at about 3 hours, or Republicans can, I guess Speaker Johnson can interrupt and say, your time's up, though that has not happened yet. Maybe it's because there's some Republicans who are like, just let him talk so we can take a nap and catch up just a little while, and we will then resume at that point. I don't know Mose says, has it turned into a filibuster? I don't know that it's a full-on filibuster. At least that's not how it is labeled. Filibuster is... it's an actual term in Congress beyond just talking a long time to slow things down. Filibuster is a congressional tool that is used. This is termed the magic minute. It is a courtesy that is granted to the leader of the minority party before the voting on passage of a significant bill. And it's called the magic minute tongue-in-cheek, right? Because magic minute turns into an hour or 2 or 3 or however long this is.
They need to just call the building engineers.
C-Spire text line.
They just need to call the building engineers and tell them to jack up the heat to about 95. See how long he lasts then,
Says Jeffries wants the Republicans to vote for this in the daylight hours. Well, the daylight hours have arrived. It's 20 minutes after 9 in our nation's capital, and we'll see. If you are just joining us,
that's when all the great stuff is going to happen, right? The daylight hours.
Yeah.
Make sure we can see the bill. There's candlelight stuff to read about. I do feel like we owe you. What are we, back in 1776? Yeah, that's what it sounds like, yeah. Thank you.
I do feel like we owe you a recap if you're just joining us, because perhaps you went to bed last night thinking that this was not going to proceed, the big, beautiful bill. We talked about it earlier. 8:30, or not 8:30, 11:30 last night, I finally shut it down. It looked like there was kind of a stalemate in terms of the voting, and it was going to be hours before anything of significance happened, and I was not going to make it until 2:30 to see what happened. It was about 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Central, when the significant thing happened, and that significant thing was the vote switched. So at, about 11 o'clock Central Time last night, the voting stood at, this is on the big, beautiful bill, and the resolution to go to a final vote as amended. Republicans had 207 yay votes. There were 212 Democrat nays. All of the Democrats voted no. But there were 5 Republicans who had also voted no, and at that point there were 8 Republicans who had not voted. And so the tally at about 11 o'clock Central Time last night stood at 217 to 207 in favor of Democrats. But that changed as we got deeper into the night. You had the 5 Republicans who had voted no. Those 5 Republicans were Thomas Massie from Kentucky, Keith Self of Texas, Victoria Spartz of Indiana, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. 4 of those 5 votes changed from no to yes, including that of Thomas Massie. And people have pointed out, hey, Richard, that was only procedural. I am aware that it was a procedural vote, but it was a significant procedural vote. It's not final passage of the bill, but it had the potential to kill the bill without getting to a final vote. Republicans had to have a majority to advance the big, beautiful bill to a final vote, and that's where we are right now. The only Republican holdout that voted with the 212 Democrats was Brian Fitzpatrick out of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He is a moderate Republican. That is a very, very moderate district, a purple district if ever there was one. It has gone back and forth, Republican, Democrat, and is significant in determining who is president of the United States. We've heard a lot about Bucks County, Pennsylvania through the years. But the final vote was 219-213, with the only Republican being Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, who stayed with it. Thomas in Greenwood says, do you want to wager on how Massey votes on the final bill? It could be fun. I'm not thinking about the wager, Thomas. I am thinking about whether or not perhaps the deal that was made with Thomas Massey was, look, we're going to have the votes to pass this. Because it was 219-213. Even if Thomas Massey stays put, that makes it 218-14. You could have had one other defection that would have had it 217-215. But 4 defections was no good. Republicans could have 3. And what I'm wondering, to Thomas's point, is if President Trump, Vice President Vance, somebody else convinced Thomas Massey, you can vote against this in the final vote for the record, but we've got to have you get it to the final vote. And we need you to cross over for the procedural vote. That's a possibility. It would give Thomas Massey the ability to kind of save face, even though ultimately it did what needed to be done to get the bill across the finish line. That's possible. Or Thomas Massey perhaps was convinced that, look, if you go against this, we're going to see to it that you're not elected again. Elon has said he's going to fund your campaign. We'll primary the heck out of you. You got to decide whether or not you think Elon wins out or Team Trump wins out. And in saying that, leaned on Thomas Massey to the point where they said, ultimately, can you do more good in office or out of office? Because we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you're out of office when this ends. So was it a short-term principled decision or a longer-term, I have a chance to affect positively more and longer, even if I vote against my conscience on this? I don't know. I'm thinking out loud on this. And it's purely speculative. Thomas in Greenwood says, or maybe Elon told him to go vote yes as an olive branch to Trump. You know, the Elon-Trump relationship right now is really, really fascinating. Even yesterday, after Trump toyed with the idea of deporting Elon, of all things, Elon said, for now, I'm going to take the high road on this one and stay quiet. I think Trump needs Elon, but I think Elon Musk needs Trump also. We got more coming up with you. Pretty interesting news out of Ole Miss earlier this week. Let's talk about their expansion plans when we come back. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I don't know where I'm gonna go when the fountain of love.
From the Venable Glass.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Wasting away again in Margaritaville, searching for my lost sugar song. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, but I know
Nathan in Smith County, to you we say thank you on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. He says, hey, just in case I'm unloading before 9 o'clock, I want to wish you, Lance, and the news team a very happy 4th of July. And I hope you have a big, beautiful, and safe time. That's from Nathan in Smith County. Nathan?
Enjoy.
Thank you for that. And to you as well.
Yeah, thank you. And have one of those wonderful Smith County watermelons. That's like tradition. Yeah, this time of year. So thank you, Nathan.
Good. Man, that sounds good.
Do you like them right out of the patch, or do you like them cold?
I like them cold, like teeth-breaking cold.
Yeah, my grandfather loved them straight out of the patch, man. I didn't even know you could make them cold when I was a kid until I was probably grown. I'm like, oh, you can, people put these in the refrigerator? Oh, okay. It is pretty good that way, though.
Sarah in Winona, good morning. What happened to Liz Cheney? It's as if she has left the planet. She went on a hunting trip with her dad and got shot.
Yeah, it was on Mars.
I'm kidding.
You got to be careful with Dick.
I haven't thought about Liz Cheney in a while. Couple of things, and then we'll get to this story about Ole Miss. I was just kind of thinking big picture about the big, beautiful bill and what its passage means as part of the larger narrative, and even going back to the campaign that Donald Trump ran for president. What were the promises that were made during the campaign? Permanent tax cuts, border security, defense, economy, jobs, lowering prices. Those were the big things that Trump campaigned on. And the number one issue during the campaign was border security and illegal immigration. Trump pounded it and pounded it and pounded it. And if you remember, in the immediate aftermath of the election, you had prominent Democrats who said, we've got to reevaluate. We've got to change our messaging. And they haven't changed their messaging at all. They might have for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, but they're right back to where they were. And they're fighting for illegal immigrants, and they're using judges to try and stop deportations. I guess we'll probably wait until next week to talk about the ruling from the district court judge in D.C. yesterday that says immigrants seeking asylum have to be allowed into the United States. This is and they're trying to couch it as a class action. And this is immediately after the Supreme Court ruling that said district judges can't make rulings that affect the entire country, with class action lawsuits being the exception. But is this actually a class action lawsuit, or are they just calling it that?
A class action lawsuit because of a political asylum status? That seems a little odd to wrap it up in a class action lawsuit. They're getting creative, huh?
But it's a technicality to try and get past the Supreme Court ruling. I think that's where they are.
Yeah, that's wild.
So this bill boosts defense spending. It continues to fund and grow the funding of immigration enforcement. There are going to be changes to Medicaid. It's going to raise the debt ceiling. And states are going to be on the hook for more spending, but not as much as they would have been. So a lot of what we talked about during the Mississippi legislative session back in January was that we've got to wait and see what happens in D.C. in terms of funding for Medicaid and Medicare and how much money is going to be coming from the federal government. It does not appear, at least as we sit here right now, like that money is going to be as effective as some were concerned that it might be, which, by the way, may be a win for the House of Representatives in Mississippi in terms of aggressively pursuing the tax cuts and not waiting to see exactly what D.C. was going to do. But it does appear that the states are going to be on the hook for more money in SNAP programs. So We're waiting. We're waiting on the end of the soliloquy by Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House of Representatives, before the final vote occurs, and we'll see what the final numbers are on that vote as it pertains to the big, beautiful bill. All right, let's pull it back locally for a minute. This is an interesting story that came out of Ole Miss earlier this week. University of Mississippi has been growing at almost an alarming rate. They have had, I think it's 3 consecutive years of record freshman enrollment. The acceptance rate for students applying to Ole Miss is very, very high, higher probably than is normal. But the retention rate for students at this point is also much higher than normal. I think I saw 87% is the retention rate for students who start at Ole Miss and go on to receive a diploma, which is an exceptionally high number. But with the growth year over year over year of freshman classes, your overall enrollment number is growing rapidly as well. And when your overall enrollment number is growing, you face a good problem. And that good problem is, where do we put all these people? Where do they sleep at night? And Ole Miss has done some creative things with apartment complexes that are adjacent to the university. The university has purchased some of those to create more beds for students on campus, but they need more bed space. They need more dorm space on campus. If you are familiar with the Ole Miss campus, you know that Kincannon, if you go, not up Sorority Road, if you go up Rebel Drive, where you've got sorority houses on the left and you've got Martin and Stockard on the right, you continue up kind of toward the center of campus, moving up toward Johnson Commons and the tennis center on your right. That's where Kincannon used to be. Years ago, that was the athletics dorm. It's been a lot of different things. It was in significant disrepair. They tore the building down with plans to build a new dorm there. Cost estimates when they did that were through the roof, like in the neighborhood of $250 million to replace Kincannon with a number of dorms that they needed. And so they kind of put it on hold. There's been a fence there in that particular area for a couple of years. There's another area of campus over close to the new law school, kind of across from Tad Smith Coliseum, where you used to have married student housing. And Ole Miss has launched a plan that's called P3. It's a public-private partnership. And it's different than historically where universities build dorms. They finance them themselves. They pay for them. They put students in those. This is a partnership that is public and private. They have partnered with a company called Graystar, a national leader in student housing development, according to a press release from Ole Miss, that aims to produce approximately 2,700 new beds for students on the Oxford campus with move-in for the 2027 school year. So that's 2 years from now. We're going into the 25-26 academic year. We're talking about the 27-28 academic year. June 30th, last day of the month of June, IHL approved the advancement of the partnership between the university and the private firm. And it's a deal where Graystar is going to create what has been described as modular housing. Now, that does not mean trailers on campus, mobile homes on campus. It's housing that is at least partially constructed off-site in a factory setting and then is brought in and is built out. The release says that nearly, I think it was about 70% of the on-site construction work will be available to local and regional subcontractors. That bid process is already underway. It's not the first time that this has happened. It has happened on other college campuses. This has been a solution, as lots of places have tried to figure out what to do with more dorm space. So they're going to go with more dorm space and more parking space in those two areas that I talked about. In the area where formerly you had married student housing, that's kind of over close to the new law school, and in the site where Kincannon was. University Chancellor Glenn Boyce said At the heart of our mission lies our unwavering commitment to giving students the best experience possible, which is why this project is vital to addressing one of the most important aspects of the student experience, housing. This transformative partnership with Greystar will provide a unique and exceptionally efficient approach to expanding housing options on campus. So those are kind of the nuts and bolts of that story. It is a unique public-private partnership that Ole Miss is endeavoring. And next week or the week after, we're going to try and get someone from the university on to talk a little bit more about this and fill in some of the gaps in terms of details. We're going to shift gears. We're going to go a little lighter when we come back. When we visit with Austin Sumrall, chef and owner at White Pillars Restaurant and Lounge. We'll talk about grilling and recipes and more for the Independence Day weekend. That's next on Mornings with Richard Cross, right here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mississippi, you're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Boys in the band ordered more drinks. Visitors scored on the.
All right, we got about 25 minutes left with you, maybe a little less than that this morning, and we have been heavy on politics as you've got all the drama unfolding on Capitol Hill with the big, beautiful bill. We are going to lighten things up a little bit. Although, as I read the menu for White Pillars in Biloxi, my stomach doesn't feel light right now. My mouth is watering and my stomach is grumbling. Small plates, shareable plates, phenomenal entrees, and it is all the masterpiece, the work of Austin Sumrall, who is the chef and owner at White Pillars Restaurant and Lounge in Biloxi. If you want to check out the menu yourself, their website is biloxiwhitepillars.com. It is phenomenal. Austin, good morning to you. I appreciate a little bit of your time as we roll into this Independence Day weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. Good morning.
I have not yet been to White Pillars. I'm not on the coast as much as I would like, but I promise you the next time I'm in Biloxi, I'm coming there. I've got some food friends in North Mississippi where I live who are big fans of yours and sing not only your praises but the restaurant's praises, and I cannot wait to get there. May even have to make a special trip.
I think it'd be worth it.
There's no doubt about that. The 4th of July, the Independence Day weekend, is a weekend that we associate a lot of things, right? We associate getting to the pool, fireworks, celebrating with red, white, and blue stuff on, but also eating, and usually that eating revolves around something that came off the grill. Put together a menu for us, if you don't mind, for the Independence Day weekend as folks are gathering with friends, gathering with family, trying to eat well and stay cool.
So we just got a bunch of ribs in. So personally, that's kind of the direction that I'm going to go this weekend. With the 4th falling on a Friday, we're actually going to be open at the restaurant this weekend. So that's we're not typically open, but just because of the way it fell, we're going to stay open and serve our good folks in the community. But I'll be smoking ribs. I'll start brining them today. And then I kind of think, you got to make sure the sides are, just right too. I love potato salad. Somebody's got to make some mac and cheese, maybe collard greens. I think that they got to get their due as well. You've got your center of the plate protein, but you also got to make sure you take good care of those sides.
That's right. Mac and cheese with fried chicken skin crumble. Tell me more.
So have you ever eaten fried chicken and mac and cheese together, and the chicken skins kind of fall off and mix them into that mac and cheese? We go ahead and do that for you at White Pillars.
That is fantastic.
Hey, can you ship
Talk
that?
To me
can you ship that overnight quickly, please?
Possibly.
We'll have to work on that, Lance. Figure out the best way to do it. Maybe our friends at KLLM will let us borrow some of the refrigerated
Mr. Richards,
trucks.
please. We're waiting.
we can make it happen that way. Austin, talk to me about your rib process. You mentioned starting the brining today. How important is the brining, and then what does the process look like when they go on the smoker?
So, we're not a barbecue restaurant, so I actually had to call in the big guns for this one, and I called one of my other chef buddies that does have a barbecue restaurant. Shout out to Carl Craig at Magnolia Blues in Brookhaven. And I kind of got his rundown on ribs because I feel like his are the best in the state. And he kind of just walked me through what we needed to do, what we needed to accomplish. So I'll do like a light dry brine on those ribs just for a few hours today. And then we'll go ahead and get them on the smoker probably this afternoon, and then finish them up tomorrow. Okay. So we kind of take the long way just because we have the time to be able to do it. Obviously, you could make it all in one day if you were eating them that day. But, a lot of times food like that, if you can layer in the flavors and really give it time to rest and sit and everything, you get a lot more out of it. If you can kind of give it a little more time.
What is your smoker setup?
I've got a pull behind indirect stick burning smoker.
Okay, there you go. And it's one of those things where there are a lot of different ways. I mean, you can make it happen on a Weber kettle grill. You can make it happen on a Big Green Egg. You can, if you've got a pellet smoker, a pellet grill, you can do that. Or if you've got one of the big boys on a trailer, you build that fire on one end or in the firebox, and then ribs go on the other end. There are a lot of different ways you can do that. You don't have to have a 500-gallon propane tank to do ribs well.
That's right. Yeah, I think it all just takes time and care, and make sure you don't forget about them, that kind of thing.
Hey, talk to us a little bit about your restaurant journey. Obviously, White Pillars has been incredibly successful. The reviews for the restaurant have been just off the charts. I know you've been really busy, but you don't just wake up one day with a great restaurant. How did it happen?
So, I grew up and, eating and going out to eat and cooking was just like a, very important thing. In fact, this past weekend, I spent some time with my mom, grandfather on my mom's side and my mom, and we still, every time we get together, we still get in the kitchen and cook. And it was just always like that when I was growing up. And, it had a lot of importance to it. And I kind of think that at a pretty early age, I knew I wanted to have a restaurant. And so I did hotel and restaurant management at Ole Miss. And then I went to culinary school at the CIA in New York, and worked for a bunch of other really famous and great chefs that taught me a lot kind of coming out of culinary school. And then my wife and I opened White Pillars in 2017. So we're going on 8 years this year. We're pretty excited about it. And then we actually just opened a second restaurant too. So October of last year, we opened Siren Social Club and Hotel Bella in Gulfport as well. So we're really proud of how those restaurants are going too. And we're just excited. We love the Gulf Coast. It's a great place to have restaurants.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I'm curious, and not to turn this too political, but as a restaurant owner, as a chef on the coast, what did you make of the labeling, seafood labeling legislation that came out of the Mississippi House of Representatives and Senate this year? Came out of the Capitol.
Yeah, so I was a big proponent of it from the beginning. I actually kind of tried to be on the front end of that and help them kind of set up the best way that it would be, to implement those rules and laws. At our restaurants, we've always, labeled our seafood, and we only serve domestic. And at White Pillars, we only serve Gulf seafood as well. To me, the important part is that your customer knows what they're getting. At no point should a restaurant be trying to pull a fast one and trying to serve something while representing it as something else. I mean, that just shouldn't be the case in any scenario. So this law is going to, enforce that, and it's going to make restaurants be honest with their guests. And, sometimes, imported seafood being served, maybe at a cheaper price point or something like that, maybe people are okay with that, but they should, as the consumer, be able to choose. So I think it's important, and I think it holds restaurants and purveyors' feet to the fire a little bit, and gives them some ramifications if they don't do the correct thing. So we love it because we've always done it, and it just kind of holds our peers accountable as well.
Accountability that creates consumer confidence feels like a good thing, and a win for the restaurants that have been doing it right for a really long time. I want to go back to something you said just a second ago with regard to your family and food kind of being part of the way that you grow up. That's the case for a lot of people. Like there are a couple of different ways to eat. You eat because you're hungry and you need the sustenance, and you grab a sandwich on the go or whatever. And then for others, and even for people who eat on the go, sometimes it's almost like I don't know if I'm using the right word, but almost more like a spiritual experience. Like it's about community and families and friends and gathering around and not being in a hurry. And while, yes, the food is the center of it, it creates this other stuff that we don't always make time for.
Yeah, I agree. And that's how it was in my family. We actually, we boiled some shrimp this past weekend, and we were sitting around as we're peeling it and eating it and kind of talking about that exact thing. It's almost like a camaraderie or sense of community, that kind of thing, where you slow down, you really, have conversations and fellowship with your friends or family. And that's, that was always in the utmost importance in my family. And I think that that's what we want to try to bring to our guests in our restaurants too, is that you feel like you're, it's an event, not just food.
Austin Sumrall, he's a chef and owner at White Pillars Restaurant and Lounge in Biloxi. And remind me again one more time of the name of the restaurant in Gulfport.
Siren Social Club in Gulfport.
Siren Social Club in Gulfport. Austin, appreciate your time this morning. Happy 4th of July weekend to you and your family and your friends. We'll talk soon.
You too. Thank you so much.
From the Venable Glass.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Last time with you on the 3rd of July as we wrap up the work week. Lance going to get a Friday off.
Yeah,
big fan of that.
Yeah, I am too. Well, probably have a little bit to do.
You deserve it, my man.
I won't be here, but I'll probably have a few things to get done for Saturday. But yeah, I mean, what do you got? Now, I wanted to ask you, we're finishing light here. What is the Cross Clan? What are they up to today? I know you were enjoying some sun and fun and sand, and it's 4th of July tomorrow. What's the Cross Clan up to?
So we watched fireworks last night.
Yeah.
We're at the beach this week. Going to see some friends that are staying a couple of towns over in a little while. Youngest daughter's got a friend that's down here as well, and let them get together and play for a little while. Today's almost kind of like a reset day. We've been on the beach a few days in a row, and I think the kids are like salt and sanded out, and the Gulf has been pretty rough, and there's been some seaweed. So maybe take a one-day break from the beach and then get back after it tomorrow and then come home on Saturday.
Now, other question. I know you love
it's been a great week.
You play some golf. Have you been able to get out and get the sticks moving, or has this been mostly just chilling?
I had the intention of doing that while I was down here, and when I left, I forgot to throw my golf clubs in the trunk. And so I have not this week. So maybe we'll get back to that next week. Hey, I do need to offer a thank you. So I have been set up all week in the guest bedroom of the house that we're staying in. My mom is with us, and this is the room that she sleeps in. And so while she's been on vacation with us, she's had to get up at 5:30 every morning and move from her bed to the couch so that I could visit on the radio with you and all of our friends across the state of Mississippi this week. So I am thankful to to her for the inconvenience that I have caused. So thanks, Mom. I do want to remind you about a couple of things. Number one, we are 1 week away from the Palmer Home for Children Radiothon right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Can't wait for that. Next Thursday, the 10th of July. Today on the calendar that we look forward to every year. Lance, you've had a chance to be a part of a couple of the radiothons now. I've been fortunate to be on the air for every single one of them that we have had, and it is it's an incredible day. It's an incredible experience. It is a day that reminds us of the needs that exist in Mississippi, but it also reminds us of the generosity that exists not just among our listeners, but among the entire state. You have been incredible. With your generosity, with your donations to Palmer Home. They need those. They take no government funding. It's all private funding for the incredible work that they're doing to rescue and restore children at Palmer Home for Children, and we can't wait to be there next week.
Well, it's just an honor to be a part of it. I mean, there's such. I want to say,
it's great.
With Drake and the crew that I've gotten the honor to meet, know, and visit with, listen to. What an unbelievable group of people. I just want to say that. They're so impressive. They have such a huge heart, and they fulfill that mission so easily. I mean, I know it's difficult, the conditions that a lot of these young folks are in, but, man, what a heart of gold, what inspiration
Absolutely.
the people are and the staff and what they've been able to do. I just want to say thank you guys. It's an honor to be a part of it. It's an honor to know y'all.
Absolutely. That is exceptionally well said. Several of you wishing us a happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day weekend on the C Spire text line. We appreciate that very much. And on behalf of Lance and our entire Super Talk family, we say to you, happy 4th of July. I do hope that you will take a moment to pause this weekend, whether it's around the grill or you're at the pool or the lake or the beach or hanging out with family, hanging around the grill, and you will think about our servicemen and women who are stationed at home and abroad, who have willingly chosen to take on this line of work in defense of our country, in defense of our freedoms, in defense of our independence as a country. And so from the bottom of our hearts to anyone who is currently serving or is a veteran who has formerly served, we say thank you. Thank you for doing that which is good and which is necessary for our country and for all of us. So thank you so very much for your service. Have you got a favorite 4th of July memory?
I don't know, man.
Is there one that stands out for you?
Not really. I just don't have anything that really stands out other than going up to Chicago for the Grateful Dead reunion back many, many years ago. That's probably my favorite 4th.
There you go.
Yeah, that was the one. I don't have a whole lot of big ones, but that was a good one.
I think my favorite ones are the ones that have happened in Mississippi, but the Big Fork, Montana 4th of July parade is legendary.
Sounds like
it's spectacular. Spectacular. Hey, don't forget about our friends at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. If you're in the market for a new or previously owned vehicle, they've got you covered. Great sales team. That'd be a great way to celebrate the 4th of July. Hey, get a new F-150 today and drive it to your 4th of July celebration tomorrow. Sounds like a plan. We'll keep an eye on the big, beautiful bill and its passage. Hakeem Jeffries is still speaking. Thanks for not letting us talk about the passage of that bill during the show today, Hakeem. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Thanks, friends.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.